Arfield. 1-0 Burnley. Scott Arfield. He's been threatening that recently. And all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. It's Rory now. On the outside. Decent.
He got it. Ashley Barnes with it. What a cross from Rory. And there was Ashley Barnes. And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
Only by Paul Patella, off for a hat-trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson, and he's on the outside. Comes inside. Top shot.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class.
Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarets deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Yes, hello and welcome along to the latest instalment of the TurfCast podcast. Full-time show after the Clarets managed a massive 3 points at home against Sunderland. Everyone was telling us it was a 6-pointer. I was a little bit reluctant to call it that so early on in the season, but I fully accept that it was a massive game. And if we'd have lost that, you're looking at potentially mid-October, early November until we even get our first win on the board. So to be able to get the first win on the board in the second game week of the season might be huge. So I'm buzzing with the fact that we got the win. And I feel like Burnley were the better side in the first half and the second half. As I said on the fan reaction, some people did push back on that first half stat especially. But I thought we were the better side. Definitely in the second half. Nobody can argue with it in the second half. We were by far and away the better team in that second half. Although we have got some stats coming on the screen later on that might sort of disprove that. But I'm always a big fan of watching football with your eyes, not just looking at stats on a screen as well. But get the comments coming in. Good to see Dominic Hall in the chat. He said, "Evening, Clarets. Hope you're well. Still buzzing from Saturday." Steve Lover says, "Who needs Granit Xhaka when you have Josh Cullen?" Absolutely superb was Josh Cullen. Head and shoulders with anyone else on the pitch. I'm not going to go early with my man of the match, but he was absolutely fantastic. Good to see all the usual names in. Harry's here again. Isn't 1 minute past? Someone have a word with Josh. I did it straight on the dot this time, mate. Straight on the dot. I'm getting better. I even told Sam to shut up because he was talking to talk. Like, right, everybody now. It's always Sam's fault, everyone. He's always gassing and chatting. Scott O'Sullivan says, "Evening all, great start to the season. 3 points up and running." Lee Greenwood says, "Got out the shower at 17:58 and still made it." He said, "I am late. I wasn't lately." Dominic Hall says, "Afternoon to George." George in the chat, as we said. Oh, I missed that one, George. Sorry. "Hello, everybody on this Monday afternoon in the States." He says, Martin Stevenson says, "The treble is back on." I'm not sure about that, mate. Evening, Joe, Andrew, and Sam. Evening, mate. Evening, Claret, says Andrew. "Greetings from Bali," says Injur Valley. Is that where you're living now these days, mate? I remember you used to live abroad. Bali's lovely. I think this is our first South Korean listener. Bayek Blackbean says, "Hello from South Korea." Hello to you. Oliver Briggs says, "We're here. Evening, gentlemen. Evening, mate." Sam, come on. We'll start off with this one. Lee Greenwood says, "What the F has Sam been up to?" Now, if you're listening on the podcast, you will not see Sam's current state, but he currently has his arm in a sling. Now, this isn't the first time he's appeared on TurfCast with his arm in a sling. So, Sam, you just got hench. You just got massive. All the comments in last week were like, "Jesus Christ, has Sam been on steads?" The truth is, he actually has. No, I'm joking. Obviously, he hasn't. But he's been getting in the gym, and now look at him. He's got his arm in a sling. So, Sam, explain it.
I mean, yeah. For those who know, I've got spaghetti shoulders and shoulders made out of glass. And went to the gym the other day, as I have been doing over the 6-week holidays. Tried to do some chest flies. Went to drop the weight, and my shoulder popped out again. So it's just standard procedure now, isn't it? Really, like just
This is the third time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just there. So, but we're here. We're still celebrating a win. So
Yeah, you know what? People need to spam the chat with credit to Sam, because as soon as you messaged the group the other day, I was like, he's not going to be in action for a few weeks. So credit for turning up, mate. I know you've been at the hospital all day today as well, so genuinely respect. Chris couldn't be bothered, mate, and you've sat here and done it. And I'm only joking. Chris has got other stuff that's happening. Harry says, assume he's done it celebrating Cullen's goal. Nearly, mate, nearly, but not quite. Tom Walmsley, probably butchered that. I always do. Says he's pulled the head off too far. It's a family show, mate. It's a family show, which I think I know which head you're talking about. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on before we get too crude. But anyway, we'll talk about the match. Obviously, Sam, you've just had a little chat there about your shoulder. So we'll come to Andrew first. The stats are on your screen now. The stat that matters is that Burnley won the game 2-0, but Sunderland did have more shots. Sunderland did have more possession. I will caveat that by saying I'm pretty certain Scott Parker's game plan was to let Sunderland have the ball, because when they have the majority of the ball, they don't really know what to do with it. Sunderland are better as a side that have less of the ball. Corners was more for us, and we did commit more fouls, and they had more offsides than we did. The most passes in the match, which, to be fair, this is a great stat from Granit Xhaka, 102. Most chances created, says Dan Ballard, but surely Cullen created a chance with that amazing through ball, and Anthony created a chance with that amazing cross. So take that one with a pinch of salt. Most interceptions was Omar Alderete, obviously from Sunderland, and most fouls. No one will be surprised to see that it is Hannibal Medjbury. But Andrew, we'll come to you first on this one. Your thoughts on the game, please, mate?
Yeah, it's weird looking at them stats because, like you said before, like watching football with your own eyes, so it didn't feel like that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought we were by far and away, especially the second half, the better side.
Yeah, like first half, I'd probably have said, quite even. They had a couple of chances early on. Obviously, Dubravka made a couple of good saves, and then we sort of got the Anthony chance late on in that first half.
Yeah.
And then second half, like I said, I feel like we were just on top for the whole of that second half, and you could tell it's Parker's game plan. Let them have the possession, let them have the ball, and we attack when we can. And I think the two clear-cut chances that we really had in that game, we took them, which, last week we were talking about we were lacking that bit of quality up the final end of the pitch.
Yeah, true.
And we just showed that on Saturday, and I think it's brought a lot of Sunderland fans back down to earth, and it's actually shown that we're not just here to make up the numbers, we're actually here to fight and to try and stay in this league. So yeah, it were a much better game, and I think, we fairly deserve to win that 2-0, to be fair.
Yeah, I think anything other than a Burnley win, would have been an absolute robber. I feel like we were the better side. We deserved to win the game 2-0. And if anything, I mean, we'll get into the controversial call about Lyle Foster's goal that wasn't given in a bit, but it could have been a lot more comfortable. However, having said that, I will caveat that by saying Sunderland obviously had that chance early on, didn't they? Which, for me, was poor defending from Burnley. But Sam, I'll come to you first on this. I mean, it could have been such a different game, couldn't it? If that goal goes in, or even the second one as well, like, as good as we were, and as hypocritical as I might sound now for sitting here and saying we were the better side, I feel like against a better team, we're 2-0 down after 15 minutes in that. And then that's the difference between a Premier League side and a Championship side. Like, we played a fellow promoted team here with this one. And I feel like after 10, 15 minutes, we could, against Man United, for example, if we give them two chances away, we're 2-0 down. Obviously, Man United is the next fixture. But it could have been so different. But again, just give me your thoughts on the game, please, Sam.
I think it's just adjusting to life in the Premier League. It's what we need to do. It's what we didn't do the last time we were in the league, which was, you've almost got to play the game a little bit. You've got to ride the waves and go through the motions a little bit. And I think that's one thing that we lacked last time we were in the Premier League. I think we focused a lot on style of play, whereas I think tactically Scott Parker got it really well yesterday. Saturday.
There we go.
He did get it really, really, really tactically.
He did.
Flawless, really. I think the team was set up perfectly. We allowed them to have chances. which is obviously something that they'll work on. Allowing the chances that they did. I thought the Meenda chance was their biggest chance, really. And I think it came from poor defending, because he shouldn't be free.
100%. That header at the back post. That header at the back post is the worst bit for me. It's not even the bit that is free. It's the header at the back post.
Yeah.
Like, it's so easy for him to win that header. Far too
Yeah,
easy.
100%. But even to get the ball in as well, like, you've got 4 defenders across the middle, and there's nobody there to get rid of it. And I just think it travels too far, and it's too flat of a cross as well. It's not in the air. It's flat enough for somebody to be able to deal with it. And I think that just comes from obviously adjusting to the Premier League. And I think, I said it last week. Obviously, all Leeds lot were happy because they beat Everton, and Sunderland were obviously on cloud 9 after a good return to the Premier League. But I think what this does is it really brings people back down to earth. I mean, I still said it last week, but I think Burnley's performance against Tottenham wasn't the issue. It was we played a better team and they took their chances. Whereas against teams lower down in the division, that style of play and those tactics, they work. And it's good to see that already against a team who have come off of a good week, who were looking to build even further. And realistically, after those 2 chances, there wasn't a right lot in it. And I think from our perspective, I think we played quite a perfect Premier League performance. You're always going to, every time you play in the Premier League, you're going to weather a storm, always. So if you can ride the wave and come out of it unscathed and then score a goal out of nothing. I mean, the 2 goals, one came just after half time and the other one came right near the end of the game. Those are the types of things we used to do under Sean Dyche, where as long as you can stay in a game, there's always the ability to affect it. And that was one of the biggest things that we all said under Vincent Kompany was we'd be 25 minutes into a game, 3-0 down, out of it already. And they couldn't chase a game. Like, this is how we need to be. The defensively resolute setup that we've got is really good. That back 4 looked brilliant, by the way. Like, I have to give Ekdal credit where it's due. I thought legs-wise, he's not suited to the Premier League, but he's quite a clever defender. And I think he doesn't step when he doesn't need to. And he's also really good aerial in his spatial awareness, and marking was really good. So I was really, really impressed with Ekdal. But I just think, to a man, I mean, there's obviously individuals who will get onto, but I think to a man, we were spot on. I think Parker got his tactics spot on. And I think, it gives us something as well to build on, that like we're not coming out now to be this team that's trying to transition the Premier League and trying to show a new style of play. We're a team that's here to try and compete to stay in the division, and that's what you should do. So I'm so pleased with the performance, and to come away with 3 points, it is absolutely massive, even at this stage of the season.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said at the start, even though it's the second game week, the fact that you're playing someone else down there, which as Claret Owl says here, our league is the bottom third, any points above them is a bonus. Completely agree with that. Even though we're playing somebody down there, that's why I was reluctant to call it a 6-pointer, but it's still massive. Like, you still need to be picking up points against these teams. You know what I mean? Like, Leeds managed to do it in the first game week against Everton. To be fair, I think Everton will be a little bit too high and what we dragged into it. I think they look really good against Brighton at the weekend, if I'm being honest. But the fact that we have now got this absolute horrendous run of fixtures was hammering home how important that win was as well, to be fair. So yeah, I completely agree. Keep your comments coming in. We will read out the best ones that we can. Lee Greenwell says some of these new boys look a step up, even from the better players last season. Sam Lane says first half 50-50, second half I think we were 60-40. Probably do agree with that, to be fair. I just think in the first half we just shaded it a bit, to be fair, mate. Sam Lane says Foster's goal, disgusting VAR decision. I mean, I was bemoaning VAR at the time. However, it was the referee that gave it, and I don't think VAR are ever going to overturn it. But then that just shows what's the point in VAR. But anyway, as soon as Sam's mentioned that, I were going to read out more comments. Let's talk about that decision then, shall we? Because I completely agree with Sam. I just don't. So, Sam is in Sam Lane in the comments, not Sam is in Sam leads Sam, Burnley leads Sam in the chat. from Clarets Roundup. But there it is on screen. And as soon as I've just mentioned him, I'll come to you first, Sam. What were your thoughts on this? Because for me, it's just a coming together. The Sunderland lad tries to get his body in the way. I feel like Lyle is probably a little bit too strong for him. Looking at that screenshot there, he does have his hand on him slightly, but the Sunderland defender also has his hand on Lyle, the backhand there that's touching him. And it just feels like it's more of a coming together than anything else. You can see a tangle of legs there as well, but is it a foul? Do you think it's a foul, Sam?
Well, he's not even facing the ball. So he's obviously wrong-footed already. So he's always going to go down because Lyle's always going to be first to that ball. I think the thing for me is he was wrong-footed. He spins. He's already falling over. Lyle is strong. So he's always going to, the argy-bargy in football. He's always going to beat him to that ball. I think for me, it's not enough. It's absolutely not enough. And I think it's done somebody an injustice further because, that could have been a kickstart for Lyle Foster to do what I would like him to do, which is prove people wrong. Myself,
he's only going to do that by putting the ball in the back of the net. Don't get me wrong. I thought he played well against Spurs. I thought he played even better against Sunderland. But the thing that people criticise him for is not putting the ball in the back of the net. And until he starts putting the ball in the back of the net, that kind of fan is still going to criticise him, even though he's played well for the last 2 games. So I completely agree. It could have kickstarted that side of it.
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean. Because then now the criticism still keeps going of, he hasn't got a goal, blah, 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 blah. And I'm one of them. I've said it very openly on here that, performance is performance, and I agree. The team winning is obviously the main priority. I don't sit and profess to say that I watch Lyle Foster every game and think even performance-wise he's always incredible. But I did think, and I am starting to think, that the Premier League does suit him a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you get the space in behind and he has got the legs to beat a man and he is quite strong. I think the criticism we've always had about him is putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think this situation does him a disservice even further because for me, that's a goal. There's not enough in that to be a foul. It's a tangle of legs. He's wrong-footed. He's not shoved him to the floor. It's just a player who's, facing the opposite direction and is already on his way down. He's obviously not going to look at Lyle Foster there who's running straight towards the ball and think I'm going to get there. So he's obviously going to go down. I don't think there's enough of a push from Foster to send him down. And I think if you do, like you say, Joe, I think if you have a look at VAR there and you go back, I think it's always very 50-50 because VAR is extremely incompetent. But if you have that situation, the downside for me is even if VAR looks at it, you've got a 50-50 dependent on who's on VAR on that day. One assistant referee or one referee turns around and says it's a foul, and the other referee says no, it's not, and it's a goal. So I think that's
a frustrating thing, though, isn't it? There's no consistency.
No, and I think that's the hard part for me is because for me, and if it was on the if I was on the receiving end of it, I obviously would be saying the polar opposite, but it's very hard to not have bias in the situation. I personally think that there's not enough in it, and I think I'd probably, even if it was against us, I'd probably come around to the fact that all right, maybe it should have been a goal. I personally think it's a goal, and I think Lyle's been robbed of not only a huge confidence boost, but also a little bit of weight off his shoulders as well, because as much as I have agreed with people about performance, and I think we all agree, performances have looked better. The running around, the willingness to have the ball is always, as a football fan, you always just want to at least see a player trying. But I think it's now getting to the point with somebody like Lyle Foster where we are starting to have the conversations about, yes, but the ball has to go in the back of the net from your striker. And I think it would have done him a world of good. And I think he's had a disservice really by the referees to even, to disallow the goal personally. But
Yeah, fair enough. A lot of people in the comments are saying it isn't a goal, but we do have Joe Clark here who does think it's foul. I don't know if Joe's a Burnley fan or a Sunderland fan, but he has said, for me, Foster has tripped him up from behind. If it was just the arms, fine, but he's clipped his ankles. There is a tangle of legs there, definitely. But I'm not sure it's enough to disallow the goal, personally. Andrew, we'll come to you, mate. What were your thoughts on the Foster disallowed goal?
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I've watched it back so many times and I still can't understand why it's been disallowed. Like, there's always going to be a tangle legs when you're going for the ball. That happens at both ends of the pitch. It happens in the middle of the pitch. You know, there's always going to be that tangle legs, and it's to me, it's quite worrying that a goal like that's been disallowed. Like the fact that because we've moved now, so we are in the cricket field end, and we're like I was bang in line with it. And as soon as the ball went in the back of the net, the ref did blow up for it. And the fact that there was no on-field review, there was no, let me look at that. It's another one of them where the referees are just backing the mates. I still can't understand why it's been disallowed. For me, it was a good goal, and like Sam said, you need Foster to start scoring these goals. A lot of questions have been asked about his performance in recent weeks, and I think he did play well. And the goal being disallowed was just ridiculous.
Yeah, completely agree. I'll just quickly get the image up on my screen. You guys can't see it; it's not loaded into the software, unfortunately. But the official Premier League excuse, I'm going to use the word, for the goal not being given was the referee's call of not. This was obviously on screen, so if you were on the match, you would have seen it. If you've seen it on PL Match Centre on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days, you would have seen it as well, and they probably showed it on the broadcast. But it said the referee's call of no goal following a foul by Foster on Sealt. Probably butchered that. Was checked and confirmed by VAR, with it deemed that Sealt was clearly tripped from behind. To be fair, that's what Joe Clark said in the comments. So obviously that is how some people do feel about it. I just think it's more of a tangle of legs, if I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's a foul. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because we won. And one of the reasons why we won was because of Joshua Cullen, who was absolutely superb. He was absolutely fantastic, and it is good to see him because he was very good against Spurs as well. I do think he got the official TurfCast man of the match from us three and Chris on last week's show. But this is his heat map from the game. Interestingly, it shows that he's more on the left-hand side rather than the middle, but he was absolutely superb. It shows that he played very, very well. Obviously, got the goal for the first goal. A nice little finish from the edge of the box. I saw a bit of a discussion on Twitter whether we're calling it a worldie or not. That's not a worldie for me. It's a very, very, very good finish, however. But what I will say is if you can call passes worldies, then his pass for the second goal was an absolute worldie, a brilliant assist. Sam, I'll come to you first, please, mate. Josh Cullen, there was some reservations about him in the Premier League. I do feel like last time in the Premier League, he probably wasn't the best. He probably was overrun a little bit too easily. I feel like he gets out muscled too easily, loses the ball in them sort of situations too easily. But the first two games this season, he's been absolutely superb, hasn't he? And I feel like he was absolutely superb on Saturday against Sunderland as well. What were your thoughts on Cullen's performance, mate?
He reminds me now of what Ashley Westwood was to us for a long time. And you lads know how much I idolised Ashley Westwood. I think he was a brilliant midfielder for us, and I think he's now adding things that Ashley had in his game that even back in the day we used to sit and think, we play a certain style of play and it's annoying, but those first time passes in midfield are great, and that's what Westy used to do all the time. And he just reminds me of how Westwood played, someone who has complete control of the midfield, somebody who doesn't overcomplicate it when he doesn't need to. Like, he saw a pass and made that pass, and it was unbelievable. But the thing that I love about Josh Cullen is he's tenacious into tackle. He wins the ball so well, and he's always wanting of the ball, and he's always wanting to get on the ball and dictate it left and right. And I think he complemented our wingers a lot in that game. I think we did really well in, him getting the ball, taking one touch, and just lifting it off to the right and left hand side. And I genuinely think he was brilliant. And I think that's the midfield duo for me. I think Leslie had a great game. I think he complements Cullen perfectly because he's, a little bit younger. He's got a lot of legs. He's strong. He's a physical player, but he's also another good ball player. And I think that they really complemented each other really well. And I think that's one of the things that I would say overall in the performance. I think we won the midfield battle in the game. And I think that that's something that hopefully continues and transitions throughout the rest of the season, so that when we play in other games, like against Everton's, like against West Ham's, we're able to sit back and say again, like, the reason why we won that game is because those two ran the midfield. But honestly, he was incredible. So good.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic with Josh Cullen, to be fair. I just want to, now you've mentioned Les, and a few people in the comments are mentioning Les as well, I just do want to quickly pick up on that and give my own thoughts on that. I do think he was good. I do think they complement each other very, very well. And I think you could see that he has a lot of quality. You could see that he's come from Chelsea's academy, for example. Some of his touches were superb. Some of his passes were superb. The only thing, and I said this in the fan reaction, the only thing that frustrated me slightly with Les was sometimes he'd have the ball and there'd be loads of space in front of him, and I just wanted him to drive forward, either pass it forward or drive forward with the ball, get it, run. I do think he was good. As Simon says here, Big Les was his perfect partner in crime. I completely agree. Martin Stevenson's probably agreeing with me slightly. Says he went backwards a lot for me. I do agree with that. I feel like it was a lot of backwards and sideways passing, but Cullen was the man that was getting forward with the ball. And as Matthew Norris here says, can't remember Big Les losing the ball once. Big, strong as an ox, potential to be a top player. Agree, mate. I think he does have the potential to be a top player. I just feel like he needs to drive a little bit more, but maybe it's a confidence thing. I'm not sure. Harry says here, I think that will come, Joe. First goal for us, he needs to go. He literally says confidence there as well. I tend to agree. I thought it was good. Thought it was fantastic. He complimented Cullen brilliantly, and that needs to be the midfield two going forward. But if I'm being super, super, super critical, which I know I am being here, then I just want him to drive forward the ball a little bit more. But anyway, we'll go back to Josh Cullen, Andrew, and feel free to chat about Big Les as well. Perfect midfield too. Obviously, I'll just put the heat map up there as well for you again. But Cullen played very, very well, didn't they, mate?
Cullen was fantastic. Like, I know we're going to go on to man of the match later on and stuff, and I don't want to give mine away early either. But Cullen was just...
We're all going to give it Cullen, aren't we? Let's be honest. I mean, we'll go into it in a bit. Andrew will do that thing where he pretends to give it someone else, and everyone just thinks, oh, here we go again. But he's going to give it Cullen in the end. But yeah, we'll get on to that, I guess. But
I do have someone else in mind as well, so I might go different. But no, Cullen was just... He was absolutely brilliant in midfield. Like I say, that heat map showing him slightly off to the left, but his goal came from the left.
Yeah,
him being on the left, like curl it in the bottom corner, didn't it? And I know we're not calling it a worldie because it weren't a screamer or anything, but Josh Cullen only scores good goals.
He does, right? He does.
But he only scores good goals, and that's the thing that I've wanted from him a bit more. We know how good he is on the ball. We know how good he can pass it and get into positions and stuff. But his goal scoring hasn't been quite up there. Obviously, I don't want to be critical of him, but I wanted to see him get more goals, and obviously he scored on Saturday, so I can't knock him. And he was just at the heart of everything we did on Saturday. And yeah, like with Big Les as well, them two together, just absolute perfect midfield. It's like going back to the days of Westy and Jack Clark. Like, it's just what we need in the midfield, and yeah, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, completely agree. Harry says, can you get up Big Les's heat map? Unfortunately not, mate. I'll see if I've been sent it, because I do get sent it by somebody. I don't think so. I won't grass on the person who sends me this stuff, because should technically be paying probably. But I don't have that one, unfortunately, mate. But one thing I do want to mention, we've all talked about Cullen's goal. Let's talk about that pass, because that's where it starts. The pass for Anthony's goal, by the way, that's where it starts. This is first touch, by the way. He doesn't take a touch, does he, Andrew? That's the first touch. He picks up the ball there. That's where it starts, and that's where it ends up. And you can just see Cullen there under the scoreboard. Such a superb pass, weren't it, Andrew? And that's what he's there to do. That's why he's, you know what? I love Jimmy from Blades Ramble. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll never criticise him as a creator or a human. He's a fantastic person. But he once sat in a pub with me in Manchester and told me that Sidney Peck was better than Joshua Cullen. I mean, that was laughable at the time, and it's even more laughable now. For a start, the two completely different players. But yeah, Cullen is showing the fact that he is head and shoulders above, I'm going to say anyone in the league. Maybe when we're in the Championship, maybe not in the Premier League, but head and shoulders above anyone on the pitch, including Granit Xhaka on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. That pass, like, if that was Kevin De Bruyne, you'd have been hearing about that all week. Like, it was just fantastic. And we've talked about Anthony as well. Like, I want to give him a bit of credit because of how well he played, and the first touch from Anthony, which we've all spoke about and said we can't wait to see. But the vision from Cullen to make that pass and the knowledge from Anthony to make that run together, like say it was a first touch pass from Cullen, and yeah, it just, everything about that goal was brilliant for me. But it all comes from the first touch from Cullen.
Yeah, absolutely superb. Genuinely, when I saw him thread that pass through at the time, I remember just shouting like, "What a pass! What a pass!" But obviously, he passed it to Jaidon Anthony, who took it round the goalkeeper, got there before the defender, then took it round the goalkeeper. And to be fair, it was, as he hit it, I thought, is it? I know why he's putting it high, because the defender's back and then he's sliding, so I completely understand. But as he hit it, for reference, I sit in the Jimmy Mack just to the left, and obviously the chance was on the right, so I was literally directly behind it. And I thought it was going to go over. Obviously, huge relief when it went in. But the person that scored that goal was Jaidon Anthony. Now, I want to talk about Jaidon Anthony as well, because, again, a lot of criticism comes Jaidon Anthony's way. And every time I see certain pages, certain people create the ideal starting Burnley 11, Jaidon Anthony isn't in there. He was one of the highest in terms of chance creation in the Championship last season, but never really got the credit he deserves from Burnley fans. And now, again, he's had a good start to the Premier League campaign. Everybody was always saying he's not good enough for the Premier League. He's more of a Championship winger, which, to be fair, I somewhat agree with. But he's had a great start to the campaign. And if anybody can take Josh Cullen's Man of the Match award off him later on, it's probably going to be somebody. That somebody's on the screen right now. Sam, I'll come to you first on this one. What were your thoughts on Jaidon Anthony's performance? Obviously, got the goal, got an assist. It was superb.
Yeah, it was really good. I've been critical of Jaidon Anthony in the past, and even towards the end of last season, even when my mindset had changed on him as a Championship player, where I was like, how creative is this guy? Like, he's suited to that left-hand side now. I think we messed about with him on the right-hand side, and I think my point stood from last season about him on the right-hand side, but as soon as he moved to the left, he was a different player. My reservations were for how he transitions into the Premier League, and having an £11 million fee there for him might take up a slot for somebody else, or a big chunk of money for somebody else. But he just keeps going from strength to strength, and in every game he seems a lot more comfortable. And I think I think he's really come into his own on that left-hand side. I think him and Hartman have a great partnership on that left-hand side as well. That has to be said. I think they complement each other really, really well. But I think the thing for me with Jaidon Anthony in the last two games has been his willingness to get the ball and really try and drive at a team and really try and get the ball into the box. And I think he's been absolutely brilliant for the last two games. And I think in this game especially, I think he's really he's really solidified himself on that left-hand side. I don't think I think it's, you know, it's his shirt for the foreseeable, and I think he's done a really, really, really good job. So mega impressed with that. And I think, like you say, he's probably the only player who could take Josh Cullen's Man of the Match award.
Yeah, I mean, he probably won't. I'm sure it's going to be 3 out of 3, and 90% of people in the comments will probably agree with us, apart from people that just want to be different. But Andrew, come to you next. Jaidon Anthony, I thought he played well against Spurs. My only gripe with him against Spurs was the pass towards Hannibal. After his great touch, as Joe Clark says here, his first touch from switches is always so good. It is. He can just take 2 defenders out of the game instantly with that touch. But the pass itself let it down towards Hannibal against Spurs. But anyway, switching back obviously to the Sunderland game, he was superb again, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's, like Sam said, like he's had a lot of questions asked about him, you know, before the season started, and would he be good enough for the Premier League? But the numbers that he did last season, you know, gave me enough to justify giving him a chance. And yeah, he played well against Spurs. Like, he did play very well against them, but Saturday was probably one of his best games in a Burnley shirt for me. He just, whenever he gets the ball, he looks like he wants to do something with it. He wants to get forward with it. And, you know, the goal that he scored just sort of epitomised his whole performance for me. Because, you know, he didn't stop running. He didn't stop chasing. He was desperate to get on the end of it. And even when he took it round the keeper, I thought, he's overrun it here. He's missed the chance. And then, like you, I'm sat opposite end of ground. But as soon as the ball hit back at net, it was just like a relief because I thought he'd overrun it. But yeah, I just thought he were outstanding. And like, I've got him in my FPL team. And a lot of people laughed at me for putting Jaidon Anthony in my FPL team. But I was like, he's guaranteed to start because Parker loves him. He'll always put 100% in and he'll score and get assists. And I think on Saturday he got me like 80 points or something. So I felt justified for that. And yeah, it was just absolutely fantastic. I think you muted, Joe.
Sorry, I was saying, yeah, completely agree. I don't think many people. It's because I just opened the
carry on, then.
I know Sam didn't give a shit. It's because I just opened a can and I just didn't want to go on stream. But yeah, apologies. Thank you, Andrew, because Sam wasn't going to say a word. But
I thought I'd gone deaf.
No, it's what we're saying now. Yeah, I don't think many people disagree, but I'm sure there will be some people that will still criticise it. No, I'm not throwing Claret Al under the bus here. I know Claret Al is a long-term listener. I love you, mate. But there have been a few comments about the missed header. Players miss chances, as Andy Duckworth says here, and heading isn't his forte. It's just not. If he had the time to take the touch, get it out, ping it in top bins, it probably goes in. I just think it's fallen to the wrong player there. You want something like that to fall to, I don't think he was on the pitch at the time, but, you know, your Flemings or your Barnes obviously wasn't on the pitch, but, you know, them sort of players. Jaidon Anthony isn't going to head the ball into the net. So there's no qualms for me, really. The fact that he missed that header, I do think he was fantastic. Another player I want to talk about, and we could be here all day mentioning individuals, because Hartman was good as well, Walker was good, but another person at the back who was decent was Ekdal. Now, I have been one of these people that was a little bit worried about Ekdal. I always remember that time against Cardiff. I think it was the last game of the season when we won the league under Company, or towards the end of the last game of the season. Towards the end of the season. He got turned inside out by a Cardiff player, and then he just couldn't get back. He was so slow. And I do have reservations about his pace still, but I feel like the way that we defend in a Parker system is just going to suit him down to the ground. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. As Oliver says there, by the way, IKEA Maldini. I love the fact that Connor Roberts commented that on his latest Instagram post. That is definitely 100% going to be the new nickname going forward. So Ekdal is now dubbed the IKEA Maldini. But it was superb, wasn't it? I've come to Sam first on this one again. Absolutely fantastic. Yes, if we ever have to defend high up the pitch, he is going to get caught out. But how often are you going to see Burnley defending on the halfway line? It's just not going to happen in the Premier League this season, is it? So again, in a similar way to Foster, the Premier League and this current system that we're playing could suit the Archaea Maldini quite well, couldn't it? But it was fantastic, and I'm delightfully surprised, and I'm happy to hold my hands up and say I might be wrong about Ekdal. Now, I never thought it was a bad player. But I just thought that the pace can sometimes leave him a little bit short. But he was superb on Saturday, weren't he, mate?
Yeah, I think it's always hard with a player who joins and then goes on loan for a season because your sample size is quite small to go off of. But I think with Ekdal, we've obviously had those reservations of pace and things like that, and we've seen it catches out before in the Championship. But I think, again, it's just another one of those situations of go away, have a loan, wise enough, come back, different player. I mean, we talk about the loan system like it's a way of getting a player in temporarily to bring them in. It's not always for that reason as well. You can send players away to develop as a player until they fit and actually suit the model that you're trying to play. And I think Ekdal's one of those players who Scott Parker clearly likes. He featured a lot in pre-season, but I just think he's a smart centre-back, and I think he complements Steve really well because he's also a good ball player. He's able to play those balls into midfield, into Cullen's feet, and get him on the half turn. I think that's a valuable asset to have. I think he eats headers up as well, just like Steve does, and I genuinely think they look like the start of a really good partnership. Because the main purpose of the defenders is there to defend and block shots, and his body was on the line for everything. He was up for every header, and it's just an added bonus that he can play out from the back as well. So I think I genuinely think that that's a centre back partnership to carry on with, while it's working until it doesn't, if it doesn't. But yeah, he was really impressive on Saturday.
Yeah, there's a comment on screen here from Marlon. He says, I was a little critical of Ekdal. He needs to be smarter as his speed isn't quite there. I agree with that, mate, but I feel like he is smarter, and that's kind of what helps him. That's probably what you're trying to say, to be fair, mate. Andy Duckworth says, I think we all respect Ekdal's play and heading ability. Concerns on his pace are totally fair. Might be okay in some games with players like Walker covering. Again, there's a lot of that. Simon Cadder here says, with Walker at the side of him, that will help him. Matt Lord says, I think he's the only centre-back we have that is suited to be the central centre-back in about 5. We could do with another for competitions like cover. If not, we definitely need another one for cover, in my opinion. If we have an injury to Steve, which, by the way, Steve went down and went off, didn't he? But I'm not sure if those of you that have seen it, that I put on Facebook and somebody else put on Twitter, he has said that it's just cramps and he will be okay. So that's a relief. Excuse me. Jakey says, it was a Daesh-esque defensive display from all of them. Agree. Sam Lane says, really safe for Bates to be back injured from what he has had over the last 2 years. Just can't get a break. Yeah, I don't think I'll be very surprised if we see Bayer in. That's not me and any inside info, by the way. I doubt we'll ever have that. Beal and Endor says, what about Ben Mee also? Grew and grew. I doubt we'll be getting Ben Mee, mate. Yeah, Andrew, I'll come to you next. Your thoughts on Ekdal and his performance, please, mate.
Yeah, I thought he played really well. I think he's out of the centre halves who, obviously, when we went to a back 5 on Saturday, I think out of the centre halves who were around the pitch until Steve went off, he is the most traditional centre half for me that we've got. I know Steve just gets everything that comes towards him and just, he's just an animal. But I think Ekdal's the most traditional centre half that we've got, and I never understood this dislike that seemed to appear all of a sudden over summer about Ekdal. I thought he was good for us under company in the Championship. Yeah. All right, he might have been a little bit slow in the Premier League, but then he got his injury, then obviously went out on loan last year and stuff. But yeah, I thought he played well, and I think between him and Steve, they're going to have a really good partnership.
Yeah, completely agree. I do feel like that will be the partnership definitely going forward now, to be fair. Some other players that I do want to mention, I've not got any stats for any of these or any sort of like images ready to go, but I'll just sort of like cross over to you two. Hartman, Walker, but them two both played very well. There was quite a lot of criticism, not from Burnley fans, to be fair, but more from Leeds fans, weirdly enough. When we signed Kyle Walker, that he was going to be pretty poor, and he was too slow. To be fair, he did have quite a bad game for England not long before we signed him, and he did look a little bit poor in that game. And obviously, he did look quite slow against certain Premier League players when he was still at City. And obviously, he went to AC Milan and didn't really kick on there. But I think he's been absolutely fantastic for us. Like I said, Hartman at left back, I think he's absolutely been fantastic. There's a few comments here about, I say a few, there's one. Be All and End All says, can we talk about Bruno Larson? Poor. It's meant to be a positive stream, mate. We've just won. But no, I'm only joking. Like, yeah, if you do want to quickly mention Bruno Larson, I think he struggled to affect the game. I remember someone sent me a text message. In fact, it was Chris, who's normally on the show, and put it in the group after about half an hour, saying that he's touched the ball 3 times at this stage. And you just want a bit more from him, don't you? Like, I like Bruno Larson. He was obviously our leading goal scorer the last time in the Premier League. He will come good again. Maybe he's just a little bit out of sorts, maybe not quite there with fitness, I'm not sure. But yeah, he was poor, to be honest with you. But anyway, let's get back to the positives. Walker, Hartman, anyone that I've missed that you two want to mention? Maybe somebody in the comments. Obviously, we mentioned Les, we mentioned Cullen, we mentioned Ekdal. We don't need to mention Steve because he's class every week. Dubravka obviously made the save early on. Anyone else that we should probably highlight?
Thought Hannibal played well.
Yeah, I think Tachuma played well as well when he came on.
Yeah, he did.
I think he did. No, you are right. I just think he just added that injection of pace that like we needed, and I think not to make this about another team, but it's the same criticism that I had with Man United the other day. Is yes, you can absolutely love a player like Mason Mount, who is absolutely brilliant, but there's a reason why teams like Nottingham Forest were doing well in the Premier League is because they had Anthony Elanga on one wing and Callum Hudson-Odoi on the other. If you play with traditional wingers playing in those winger positions, they're there to just attack the fullback. They're not there to do anything else. You know, they pick up goals and they cut inside, but you want a player who's going to go at the man. The thing that I find with Bruno Larson is, and I do really like him, and again, it's not a criticism, but I think the only thing that I mean is, and I put it in the group chat about like Edwards, for example, like, Edwards is somebody who will go at his man. So if I ever see Edwards on the team sheet, yes, okay, there's times and there's always going to be a conversation there about Edwards because he came in as a marquee signing and I think probably didn't hit the expectations that people expected of him. But the thing that I always like with Marcus Edwards is he's always frightening fullbacks. He's always giving defenders something to think about. I thought Bruno Larson made it a little bit too easy for defenders. He'd get the ball and his first instinct was, well, I'll play it inside to Cullen or I'll go back to Walker. And I just think that was probably my only criticism of Bruno Larson. I don't think in the game, I don't think he affected the game enough, but I don't think that's through him being a bad player. I just think he's suited to other things. And we had players like that in the past, like we had Robbie Brady. Robbie Brady was not there at all to beat a man. Robbie Brady was there for set pieces, putting in a good delivery into the box and being able to be a good technical footballer. And I think I find him quite similar to Bruno Larson. And I think it was very easy in that game with, you know, you've got Anthony linking up play and taking touches left, right and centre and going at his man and cutting inside. And then your other wingers just kind of getting the ball, taking a touch and playing it backwards. It's very easy to be able to say, well, look what one's doing, look what the other isn't. And I think that's why I brought on Tachuma. I'm really bad with this name, but is it Tachuma?
You're asking the wrong person, mate. You're asking the wrong person. I can barely say Smith.
According to FIFA, it's Chayuna, so I'm going with that.
Chayuna. So,
or as Clarets Al says, whatever he's called.
Yeah, whatever his name is. But he was really good when he came on. I thought he was direct. I thought he was clever on the ball. I thought he was very easy on the eye, and I think that's one of the things that, again, I go back to with, like, you know, watching the United game the other day. Mason Mount's a good footballer. Why is he on the left-hand side? Like, with Brun Larsen, it's a bit similar. It's like when you've got a really, really, really good, like, fast winger who's going to try and beat his man, that to me in the Premier League is more valuable, because that's somebody who's going to open up a defence or do something out of the ordinary. And I just think that maybe that's probably why Brun Larsen got the question mark that he did, because on the other wing, you've got Jaidon Anthony who's doing what he's doing and he's doing bits. And then you've got Tuna coming on for, you know, 15, 20 minutes. And in that 15, 20 minutes, he's gone at his man more times than Brun Larsen did. So I think that's probably where the question marks come from. But I think fundamentally, we've got to win a 2-0 win, and he's obviously a part of that. So whilst I don't think he was better than other people, I don't think he was terrible.
Yep, fair enough. Andrew, your thoughts on we spent a lot of that chatting about JBL, which probably a little bit harsh, but do you think there's a few people have called for it now? Do you think it's time to maybe bring Edwards in? But as I think it was Martin said in the comments, I'm not currently looking at the stream, so apologies. He can leave us sometimes wide open in transition. He doesn't track back as well. So is it time for Edwards, or now with the fact that we've got that win, do you think it's a case of sticking with the winning team?
I think it'd be harsh to drop him straight away for Edwards. I think he brings something different, like Sam says. He brings something different to the team. Does Brun Larsen, and like, I really, really like him. You know, I think he was one of our better players last time we were in the Premier League. There's obviously a reason we brought him back. So yeah, I really like him, but I think it'd be harsh to drop him straight away for Edwards. And to be honest, like, I got a bit of stick last season when I said this, but Edwards, I know he was a big marquee signing, and I know that he is technical and he can do things with the ball that no one else in our team can. But a lot of the time, it's get the ball in the box and just try and get past one, and then get past another and get past another. And it doesn't feel like that's the right way to go for us for this season. Like, we can get away with that in the Championship, but in the Premier League, we get the ball in the box. We need to be trying to take our chances. So, yeah, I think it'd be harsh to drop JBL straight away for Edwards, but I think as the season goes on, we'll see the right games for them to be involved.
Like, United away probably isn't the game to start Edwards. I mean,
no.
Excuse me. If we have Edwards driving at players, like, yes, we might create more chances, but we're just going to be far more open. So I would suspect we're going to see a very similar team to what we saw against Sunderland. I'll tell you what then, let's move on to the man of the match. So get your comments coming in. I'll just quickly try and put a poll up on the YouTube now so you can vote in the poll as well. But who was your man of the match? Just quickly type it out. Against Sunderland. I think we know it's probably going to be pretty much unanimous, but you never know. Some people might go different, as I feel like Andrew probably will. And I'll come to Andrew now. Andrew, who was your man of the match for the game against Sunderland, please, mate?
No.
There we go. There he is. There's Andrew.
100% Josh Cullen. It couldn't be anyone else. Like, he was absolutely, everything we did came through him. He was absolutely fantastic, as he always is, both defensively and going forward. Obviously, he scored the first goal. He made an absolute incredible pass for the second one. You know, like I say, if that was De Bruyne or something, we'd be seeing that on every single match of the day intro for the next 10 years. Yeah. So, yeah, it has to be Josh Cullen. I think he went under the radar so much last year because of how well Steve did every single match. So, yeah, it has to be Josh Cullen.
Yeah. Sam, your man of the match, please, mate.
Yeah, it's absolutely Josh Cullen, isn't it? I mean, you know, even, you know, take the statistics out of it. He just dictated that midfield. Never looked like he shouldn't be on a Premier League football pitch. really was the heartbeat of the team, led by example as the captain that, you know, he's now become. And I really feel like he's the type of player that's going to take to that role really, really well. And then to top it off, like a really good finish and an unbelievable ball. And like Andrew says, if that's anybody in the top 6, that's getting replayed all weekend, not last game of match of the day. So absolutely sublime stuff from him this weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to say Big John. John says Big Les. He might be nicknamed Big John. But John Payne says Big Les. Dominic Hall says Cullen 10 out by 4. Marlon says between Cullen or Hannibal. And Harry says brace yourself for Andrews. Everyone knows what you like by now, Andrew. Jordan Rushcliffe says, Isidore man of the match for not missing a penalty or crying on the pitch this time. You know what, mate? I genuinely, when he came on, I said to my little boy, I said, I bet he's having PTSD. And I had to explain what PTSD was to a 7-year-old, and that didn't really go down very well. And then Martin says, Cullen all day. Mike Trezor says Moloko. Chris Backs, he says Cullen. Nick Brown says Cullen. Anthony Briggs, sorry, Oliver Briggs says Anthony for me. Jakey says Cullen has embraced wearing the armband. Yeah, good shout, mate. Since he's been captain 2 games, to be fair, but you know, since he's been captain, he really does seem to be leading by example. Stuart says Cullen, special mention Ekdal. Harry says Cullen, he performs like that every week. Scott O'Sullivan says definitely not the electrical department. Completely agree. Unmelia Monday says Cullen or Anthony. Cullen, Anthony, and Hannibal. You pick one, mate. Come on. Brian Gott says Josh Cullen. Raymond Moorhead says Cullen was our most influential player and therefore man of the match for me. Big shouts to Ekdal and Les. Foster quieted a lot of critics too, which please be no end. I've already put that one on screen from Brian. Justin says definitely Cullen, but Hannibal second. He really gets in their head. John O'Callaghan says Cullen. Marlon, talking about something else. Martin Stevens says, like the lad from Forest last week. Hold on, let's go. Too many comments coming in. Cullen 10 out of 10 says Sam. Simon Harvey says Cullen first, Hannibal second. Honourable mention to the bloke that complained to Pace in that interview. How miserable do you have to be to walk past Alan Pace? Bloody hell, I've got to bloody walk too far now. If you've not seen it, it's on the TurfCast Facebook. I mean, we'll get into that, I guess, in a bit. I mean, it's a bit of a miserable sort of like chat, to be fair, is that? And I want this to be a positive one. I want to bring up this comment from Andy, though. And Andy's probably sat there thinking, why has he ignored my comment? Because I wanted to bring it up later on. Not that comment. Bloody hell, that's bloody wrong one. Where's the other one? Here it is, right. Man of the match, obviously Cullen. So to make it interesting, let's vote for the second. So we'll do that then, because everyone knew it was going to be Cullen. So, Andrew, who was your second man of the match? And I tell you what, I'm going to come in first, actually. It's Anthony for me. He says Foster/Les. For me, it's Jaidon Anthony. He got a goal and an assist. He played quite well. What more do you want him to do? So I'm going to vote Jaidon Anthony for my second man of the match. We've not done this before, by the way. We'll probably never do it again because I don't think anyone's going to play as well as Cullen, where it's so obvious to have one man of the match. But for me, it's Jaidon Anthony. Your thoughts, please, Andrew?
Ekdal for me. I thought he was absolutely solid. We know what Steve's like. We know how solid Steve is at the back. Ekdal's had a lot of questions over him, and for me, he showed that he was a perfect partner for Steve. So it had to be the IKEA Maldini.
Love that. Sam, your second man, please.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Jaidon Anthony, really, doesn't it? I mean, you know, it was a bright spark in the team. Gave us a lot of attacking threat, and obviously got his goal and his assist from it as well. But I think, you know, a lot of that as well, though, is down to Hartman as well. I think Q is a really, really good signing. I think he's able to overlap Anthony, which allows Jaidon to cut inside. I think he's really good as well at being able to link them. Those two link up really, really nicely together. And I think that's a left-hand side that doesn't change for me all season. I think he's a great acquisition, and he complemented Anthony so that Anthony could have the game that he had. So for me, it would be Jaidon Anthony, but I think Q deserves a lot of credit for that as well.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I don't necessarily mind both of them. I think they're both decent shouts. Well, we just got past the hour mark. Is there anything else people want to discuss? There was a couple of comments about this new rule where you have to walk around and everyone does bottleneck towards the end of the James Hargreaves and stuff. So it's probably an emotive subject to certain people, especially if you're disabled or have young kids or maybe on crutches or something. Andrew, where do you sit? You sit the Jimmy Mac near me, don't you?
No, so I've moved into cricket field end this season.
So you'll just come straight out then onto the main road down to Harry Potter's Way, so it probably don't affect you really.
No, I'll give them credit. Like, I know I've seen pictures on Twitter and stuff of people like, oh bloody hell, this for the queue outside Harry Potter, outside getting into cricket field. But we got on about 2:30, like into ground, and straight in. There were no mess about with the QR code. Straight in. Got a thing for where we're standing. Got pointed to seats. There were no issues with that for me. So I know other people probably have had issues. So I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, it's now, get over it and stuff. But for me, it's actually quite better.
I agree. I agree, and not to dismiss people's concerns. I understand if you're elderly. I understand if you have young children, you have to walk all that way. I understand that if we're bottlenecking and all it takes is one idiot to start pushing and start shoving, and obviously there's been very emotive things that happened in the past with things like that, which I obviously won't go into. I can understand people's concerns, but for me, I'm quite lucky in that sense because I sit on the left-hand side of the Jimmy Mac. So when I come out, I turn right underneath the concourse and go down the last stairs. And them last stairs, if you're from that area, you'll know they come out on the side of the Jimmy Mac, not behind the Jimmy Mac. So when I come out, I'm just coming straight out to pretty much where the disabled stand exit is, where the club shop is. So it doesn't really affect me, but it did take a little bit longer to get out from my bit. So if you are at the complete other side of the James Hargreaves and then you've got to walk all the way around, I can understand that's probably a bit of a pain when you're used to probably walking out and coming out on Belvedere Road. But I've seen some people message me and stuff and say like, oh, it's an accident waiting to happen. There's going to be a crush. There's going to be, people dying and stuff like that. I just think you're being a bit dramatic there. Hopefully it's not famous last words and this is clipped up, but I just can't see something like that happen. If you just have plenty of stewards there, plenty of sensible people there, something like that's never going to happen. Lee Greenwood says... Sorry, go on, Andrew.
No, to be fair, this sort of goes with what Lee's comment is. Like, the thing that got me were, I thought the whole point of it was to avoid away fans clashing with home fans, and your home fans are all going one way and away fans are going another. As soon as you get to Crossroads at Belvedere Road, there were Sunderland fans coming down, walking past us, and I thought the whole point of this was...
That's the point. Yeah, surely the point is, surely with the away fans is, they'll come out at the side of the cricket pitch, and then they'll just turn left anyway and end up on Yorkshire Street. So then you're mingling there anyway. But as there was a comment earlier, I think it was Harry, it's gone now, so apologies. I do think Harry Potter's Way is better. Harry Potter's Way itself is better for it, I feel. But then there is an issue if you're at the opposite end of the James Hargreaves. But Sam, you've seen them. What were your thoughts on the plans, mate?
I think I agree with you two, to be fair. Like, the whole point of it is to avoid fans clashing. Not that football's really like that anymore, but
it's not anymore, is it?
I think that's kind of what it's there for, and I think it's the first home game of the season. They're trying a new system. There will obviously be things that the club will look into and think, does this work? Does it not? You can only see how it actually works through actually trying it on match day, and there'll be things that they iron out for for the next home game. So, and then if it really, really doesn't work and there's a lot of backlash, then they'll just go back to what it used to be or find a new system. So it's like I'd say about a lot of things, it's not that deep really, is it?
Yeah, the only thing that I'll criticise them for is the fact that no one was really consulted. They told, apparently, for what I've been told, I might be wrong, so if there's any FAB members listening to this at some point, is they just told the FAB they were doing it rather than consulting them. That's my only issue. However, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. There's been people moaning about it, and I'm not belittling the fact that if you feel like it's a thing, then that's fine. I'm sure there's things that I get annoyed about that you don't. But it is what it is. Andrew, you said you wanted to say something, mate.
What was the atmosphere like? Because obviously I've moved from the Jimmy Mac to the cricket field. So what was the atmosphere like with the change in the cricket field stand?
It felt better. I saw someone whinging on Twitter say the atmosphere is awful, and I thought it was okay on Saturday. I feel like the long side was better than what it has been for a while, bizarrely, probably because the away fans are closer to the long side now, and that then encourages them. I don't know. But there was like a 10, 15-minute chant of "We are the long side Burnley," which originated from the long side. So I felt the atmosphere was decent on Saturday, if I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen people complain. Some people in here might have different opinions, but yeah, for me, I thought the atmosphere was all right, to be fair.
Yeah, being sat in there, obviously, like my voice is only just coming back, but being sat in there, it felt like the atmosphere was better, but obviously you then don't get to see what it's like rest of the ground. So hopefully if it doesn't the atmosphere, it can only be a good thing, really.
Yeah, there's a comment on screen here from Andy Duckworth. He says, the worst bit is we seem to have given away fans more tickets, assumed 10%, but thought we'd cleared that threshold anyway. Penalties at that end in front of away fans now not ideal. Yeah, hopefully we don't see that too often, mate. And if we do, it's going to be in games like Derby County when they're not going to be ringing that many fans. But just to point out, if we've got that thing on where it blurs my screen so you can't see, but I feel like we sold out the away end. Sunderland are a good club. Like let's not sort of like criticising. They will fill that away end if they need to, and that was my view from the Jimmy Mac. So I do feel like that is correct. Like we've given them a bigger stand and then sold the old tickets. So when we get to the fact that we're selling them more tickets, so yeah, looking from the Jimmy Mac to the new away end, to the new cricket field, I do feel like the away end is now bigger than what it was. But I agree with you, Andy. I thought we'd already covered the 10% threshold, but maybe we just want to give away fans a little bit more, maybe because the likes of Blackburn Rovers have had the knickers in a twist about it recently and clubs don't feel like we're giving them enough. I'm not sure, but it is what it is. But anyway, if you are disappointed with that, I would just recommend writing to Alan and Russell and getting your thoughts across. Maybe join the BFC ISA and getting stuff like that there, because the regular fans can be heard in stuff like the BFC ISA, whereas obviously the FAB is more of a closed book. There are options out there to get your voices heard. But lads, before we wrap it up, is there anything else you want to mention? Anything else that any of you two want to mention?
When does the transfer window close?
Next Monday.
Yeah, is it like 1st of September, 2nd of September?
Yeah, but it's at like 7 o'clock instead of like usual 11. It's like 7 p.m.
Was it early?
Yeah, spot on. Monday, September the 1st at 7 p.m.
I think we could still do with maybe one or two more.
We need cover at centre back. We need cover at centre back.
We need cover at centre back, and I think we could do with another striker stroke winger. But I don't think we'll get a striker. I don't think we'll get a striker because they spent 20 million quid on someone. But
exactly, that's why. While I agree with the striker thing, we haven't seen Brogy yet. He might be class, but he's also very injury prone. So maybe would like to see. But Lau's done all right. I know he's not scored yet.
No, he has done okay. I don't even mean even from a Lau perspective. I mean just rotation wise. I just think even if you just have another player who's just a different dimension, it's like right now, like even if you look at the wingers, like we've got or maybe another central midfield. Yeah, another central midfielder, because like, you've got Cullen and Les, and then after that it's drop Hannibal deeper and put Fleming in. You've got Josh Laurent. But I just think maybe just one more just to solidify the position would just make me feel just a little bit better. Like, because you do worry in the Premier League. You one injury from a player injury from a key player away from the entire team falling apart. So it's always good to have depth in numbers, yes, but good quality numbers as well. So I just think it'd be nice. It'd be nice for his business not to be done like 2 weeks prior and we hear nothing. It'd be nice to know that like we're still looking and actively, trying to bring in other players. So
George says, get better, Sam, and speedy recovery. Andy Duckworth says, Sam, glad your right hand is still okay, mate, so you can still get pleasure. Even if Burnley Football Club lose, get back to that. Family show, Andy.
Can still do some writing. Still do some writing.
Is that what it means? It must mean writing at work. Yeah,
Must
family
be.
show, lads.
Must
Family
be.
show. But on that note, I think it's time to wrap it up, don't you? Before someone else cracks another wanking joke. But everybody, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you to all the comments. Thank you to everybody who's always here on the lives. It's good to see the good names. It's good to see the community that we're building here at TurfCast. And of course, absolutely massive thank you to the likes of Sam and Andrew, especially with Sam's with his broken shoulder, dislocated shoulder, whatever it is. His third in the space of 18 months, and he's still here despite being at a hospital all day. But anyway, let's wrap it up there. If you have missed it or you've joined the stream late, then you can obviously watch the stream back at your pleasure on all of the platforms. We stream now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. I still refuse to call it X. It's Twitter to me. So once I end the stream, you can watch it back at your pleasure. And of course, the podcast will be uploaded in audio version in all the usual places. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to Sam and Andrew for coming on. Thanks to all the commenters, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.